Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to use spinners in Android Studio. So for instance, we have our app right here, and basically it has one instruction saying rate John's Android Studio tutorials. That's what you're watching right now. The first way we can do that is with a dialog. So a dialog spinner, once you click on it, opens up a window and kind of darkens the rest and just brings the emphasis on the window. And you're greeted with a few options which we will create, and then if you click one, something will happen. In this instance, a toast message will pop up, but it really depends on what you want it to be. We also have the drop down style spinner, and so that's a little bit different because it doesn't open up a giant window and minimize everything else. It kind of just puts it on the screen there, and again it does the same thing with clicking and doing the toast. So I'm going to show you how to make that. So first of all, we're going to need to do the layout because that's most fun. What you're going to want to do is go to your activity main or main activity XML file or whatever it's called, and go to the text, and here at the top it'll say something like relative layout, and you don't want that. You want to switch that to linear layout, just like that. Next you're going to want to find the scroll view somewhere on here and throw that into your linear layout. We also need to make sure that our linear layout is set to vertical, so add this line here if you don't have it. Then we're going to need to add another linear layout, and we're going to use a vertical linear layout and drag that inside of your scroll view, not below it, but actually inside of it. Not quite letting me do it. So then you just drag it in until it's red. You can only have one direct object of a scroll view, so since I already have a linear layout, it won't let me put a second one in, but you'll want to do it like that. You don't necessarily need a scroll view, but in case your screen's not long enough to show all the options, you will need that. You can also include a title, like I did, just simple text view that I drug on here. Then we have a spinner, or I'm sorry, another title, and then below that we have our spinner dialog. So all you gotta do is find spinner on here, and drag it below, or drag it wherever you want really. You can kind of complete it if you want. We have two options. Obviously we have the dialog and the drop down, so you just do whatever you want to do, or both I guess. To specify, you're going to want to go back here to the text and click on the spinner, whichever one you have, or both, and change the spinner mode to dialog and then the other one to drop down. And we're going to set the ID of the drop-down one to spinner drop-down, and the ID of the dialog one to spinner dialog, just to keep them straight. We're also going to go to the strings file, which is under values, strings, and we're going to create this string array, just like this. We're going to call the string array itself spinner options, and we're going to create individual items. The first one is spectacular. Then we have super good, really good, good, and bad. It's going to be like this. We have the name and what it is, and so on. Finally, we're going to need to go to our main activity, or whatever file you're using for your class. And we're going to obviously need a few lines of code here. So first of all, we're going to need the regular Java beginning of file type of thing, which consists of the usual main activity and extending activity, but we're also going to need to implement the onItemSelectedListener. Very important for our spinner. Then you're going to type spinner and then lowercase spinner dialog and then spinner drop down. These you only use whichever one you're using in your layout here. Let's say you only are using dialog, you only need to create the dialog one. If you're only using drop down, only create the drop down, or both if you're using both. We're also going to need to make array adapter. That's, see here in our strings, this is what's going to fill that adapter. We're also going to need to override our first method. Pretty standard, it's the onCreate method, just like you're used to. This should come with your activity when you create it. First line that we need inside that method is adapter. See, we're referencing our adapter that we created already. And we're making that adapter created from our string resource, or string array resource. To do that, we're going to create from resource this being this class. It could also be main activity.class, depends on your preference. Then we're going to find the reference to it, so that would be resources dot, so here's resources, res is resources, dot array, and it's finding array in strings, and then spinner options. Notice how it's named spinner options. And then this, that just comes like it is. You have never created anything like that. That's just stock Android. Next, we will need to initialize one of our spinners, or both of them. So first of all, we're going to do the spinner dialog. So we're going to set spinner dialog equal to the type of spinner, and we're going to find which spinner we're using. So spinner dialog. Remember here, we set the ID to spinner dialog. That's what we're looking for. That way, our app knows what spinner we're looking for. Then we're going to use that spinner dialog that we just found, and we're going to set basically the text, like so. All the options we just saw in here about spectacular, super good, super bad, all that. That's what we're looking for with our adapter, and that's what it adds for us. Then also we need, to set a click listener for the spinner dialog, which will be right here. And then if you're using the second spinner, we're going to need to define that. So just like we did here, it uses a type spinner and we find which spinner. And then we're going to set the adapter, and we're going to set a click listener for it. Then you will need to use a bracket here to end that off. And then we're going to create another method. This is the onItemSelected method. This stuff is auto-filled in. And we're going to need a text view. And we're going to call that text view spinner dialog text. And we're going to make that equal to the type text view and view. This is all generated by Android Studio. And then we're going to need, well, you don't technically need this, but this is what I'm using. Remember when we click on an option, it creates this little toast message right here, like you selected bad. That's what this toast line does. So basically it says toast, which is what we are using, and we're making text, and our class, it's going to be uselected plus the text of what we selected, and then how long we want to do it for, and then we'll show it. We'll need a bracket to end off that method. Then one more method that we're not going to really use, so you don't really need to make it, I don't think, but just go ahead and do it for good programming practice. And then bam, we are all done, and we have created a spinner. So that's pretty exciting. Hopefully you learned a lot in this video. If you have any questions, please contact me in the comments, through my new email, or through my website. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.